The Democratic Party and media pundits, but I repeat myself, go wild with the fact that Wisconsin Supreme Court rejected President Trump's lawsuit, but they don't know the half of what the hell is going on. AOC gets in trouble for selling a sweatshirt for $60. A drunken sounding woman gives it to one of the Georgia judges in the hearing. We'll talk a bit about that. And Newsom gets drunk on power. 200 episodes in, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, gentlemen. My name is Jay Edgar. We've been here 200 episodes. 200 episodes. What is that? 40 weeks? 40 weeks we've been doing this. Uninterrupted. We've had an episode every single day. Holidays, my vacation, no matter what. We've been here every day, 200 episodes. Thank you, everybody who's made this show great. Thank you, everybody who's been here every day, every week, chatted with me in the live chat, kept me honest, kept me going. And said funny shit, by the way, too. I love having you guys around. I love that we've gone through this journey together. I hate the fact that I've got a little bit of a scratchy throat while we're doing this here, but thank you, everybody, for 200 episodes. Let's do 200 more. And let's do a better job than the mainstream media is doing as well. Before I get into the shout-outs for the website here, I just want to give you a little bit of a joking instance of the left can't meme, because they can't fucking meme. They just take right-wing memes, and they do them badly, over and over again. Apparently now the new trend is, you made America great already simply by firing and evicting Trump from our White House, and this is coming off the fact that now they're talking about doing blue Make America Great Again hats. Get your own stuff. We realize that communism doesn't make anything, it just takes away from other people, but dude, get your own stuff. Alright, before we get into the news of the day, head on over to freedomscoop.com. Freedomscoop.com is going to be your one-stop shop for all of your news and commentary needs. We carry great shows such as The Daily Ignoramus, The Generational Gap, Contemporary, The R-Rated Conservative, The Freckles and Brit Show, and The Breakdown with Birkenhoff. Come over there, check out our newly redesigned website too, by the way. I just saw that this morning myself. So check out our newly redesigned website, pick up some of our swag, and help us support great creators. Alright, looking at the stocks for the day. It looks like the Dow had a fairly up day, dropping just at the end of the day, dropping all the way back down. Looks like it tried to jump back up again too. Looks like we've got a couple things going with the news. Waiting to see what's going to happen with those stimuluses, and of course, waiting to see what's going to happen with all of these hearings. So let's get into that. Plus, I've got a bonus article from Reuters on this, because it looks like the S&P and the Dow are looking to launch some cryptocurrency indices. So we will see what's happening with that. But let's see what the investors have to say. And don't forget, if you are lurking today, get your name in there, because today is the day. And I got forks on my desk too, by the way. But today is the day that I grab my handy notebook at the end of the day and read the names of everybody who chatted in the live chat here. Because I thank all of you individually too. So if you are in there and you're lurking, get that last minute message in. All right, from Investors Business Daily. Dow Jones Futures rise on stimulus deal hopes as job report looms. DocuSign eyes buy points. From Ed Carson. Dow Jones Futures rose slightly Friday morning, along with S&P 500 Futures and NASDAQ Futures, ahead of the November jobs report with coronavirus vaccine news and stimulus deal talks in focus. The stock market rally turned mixed Wednesday on an afternoon report that detailed the supply chain issues that spurred Pfizer and BioNTech weeks ago to have the number of coronavirus vaccine doses by year end. Oof, I don't even know if that has some... The tinfoil in my head just keeps going off whenever I hear, okay, well, Trump looks like he might start winning something, and, oh, well, now we're not going to have as many vaccines. There is something else going on in here. Otherwise, this is just a series of massive coincidences. Coming right ahead of the close, investors took the Pfizer vaccine production cuts as brand new. Pfizer stock and BioNTech stock fell on the initial headlines, while rival COVID-19 vaccine maker Moderna soared. After the close, DocuSign headlined after-hours earnings reports. DocuSign stock jumped early Friday, signaling an early entry and nearing a buy point that followed earnings breakouts Thursday by CrowdStrike, Zscaler, and Elastic. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell spoke Thursday to reaffirm their commitment to a new coronavirus stimulus deal. Spend, 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 as lawmakers signal more willingness to compromise and reach an agreement soon. McConnell said earlier in the day that he sees hopeful signs for a stimulus deal. Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Charles U. Schumer said Wednesday that a new $908 billion bipartisan proposal could form the basis for stimulus deal talks. $908 billion. That's a bunch of money that they don't have. A December 11th deadline for government funding looms. CrowdStrike stock Zscaler joined IBD leaderboard on Thursday. On the futures, Dow Jones futures were up 0.3% versus fair value. S&P 500 futures climbed 0.3%. NASDAQ 100 futures rose 0.2%. Dow Jones futures will likely move at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time when the Labor Department releases the November jobs report. Economists expect the November jobs report to show non-farm payrolls rose by 500,000. As the pace of the recovery slows, the jobless rate is expected to dip to 6.8%. Remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. And in spite of everything they've tried to do to keep the unemployment rate low, as of this point, the unemployment is lower than it was when Trump took office. I don't know how he did it, but he did it. He got us almost back to where we were right when this pandemic started. Now, still, we do need to see more people getting back to work and more shit opening back up, but with the hands-off approach of the federal government and people getting sick of waiting around for their governments to do something, the unemployment dropped to 6.8% from 13.1% in a year. That is awesome. Let's keep going here. From MarketWatch, Dow loses momentum and S&P 500 ends lower in last hours of trade Thursday as Pfizer said to slash rollout target for COVID-19 vaccine. Oh, they're not going to let me read this. Gay. All right. We're going to skip that one. And we're going to do this one here from Reuters instead. Thank you, MarketWatch, for, well, shilling for shekels, apparently. From Reuters, S&P, Dow Jones indices to lost cryptocurrency indices in 2021. From Anna Herrera. S&P Dow Jones Indices, a division of financial data provider S&P Global Incorporated, said on Thursday that it will launch cryptocurrency indices in 2021, making it the latest major finance company to enter the nascent asset class. The S&P DJI branded product will use data from New York-based virtual currency company Luca on more than 550 of the top traded coins, the company said. S&P's clients will be able to work with the index provider to create customized indices and other benchmarking tools on cryptocurrencies, S&P 500 and Luca said in a joint statement. S&P and Luca hope more reliable pricing data will make it easier for investors to access the new asset class and reduce some of the risks of the very volatile and speculative market, they said. With digital assets such as cryptocurrencies becoming a rapidly emerging asset class, the time is right for independent, reliable, and user-friendly benchmarks, said Peter Rothman, Global Head of Innovation and Strategy at S&P Dow Jones Indices. The move by one of the world's most well-known index providers could help cryptocurrencies become more mainstream investments. And the government's going to get themselves involved. They're going to start getting regulated, and that $18,000 Bitcoin that you have sitting in your crypto wallet is going to become, I don't know, maybe a $2,000 Bitcoin. Because, whoa, we better not let that compete with the Federal Reserve. But it's good to see at least coming in and getting recognized here. I mean, a lot of people thought that this was just a fad and this was going to, something that was going to go away. But it looks like crypto's here to stay. I'm actually going to build myself a crypto wallet over the weekend. So if you got yourself a little Bitcoin, burning a hole in your crypto wallet, and you want to throw it my way, I'll take a little bit of it off your hands. Or even some of your other stuff. Hell, I'll even take some of the Facebook stuff Lira. Because then I can say, I had Lira. Did they even launch that shit? I don't even know. But we'll see what happens off of that. And good on the indices for bringing this up and bringing this to the forefront. All right, let's get into the news. Starting with Wisconsin on the election front. From Alex Savvy tweets out, the Wisconsin Supreme Court rejects President Trump's lawsuit that attempts to overturn the results of the election in the state along a 4-3 vote, saying the case first needs to exhaust options in the lower court. And we're actually going to look at that right away and see what the decision was on that. Where is it? Here it is in this line here. It is ordered that the petition for leave to commence an original action is denied. One or more appeals from the determinations of one or more boards of canvassers from the determination of the chairperson of the Wisconsin Elections Commission may be filed by an aggrieved candidate in circuit court, Wisconsin Statute 9.01, Section 6, and it is further ordered that the motion to intervene is denied as moot. And that little paragraph right there is the important part of the document, because all the news media ran with, oh, they lost in Wisconsin. Wisconsin denied. Even though it's a conservative majority, they denied Trump. He lost. He needs to just concede. Well, that's not actually the case. They said, well, kick it down to a lower court. We can't hear it until the circuit court weighs in. So, it's going to the lower court. And if they reject it, then it goes to the Supreme Court. I'd like to think that some of these circuit courts are going to come out and start to get smart on this. And that's part of the problem that I see with these courts just rejecting this. This seems to be bad strategy on them. If I was on a court and somebody that I was politically opposed to was trying their damnedest to get through the election, and I'm not saying good or bad, right or wrong, evil or good at this point. I'm just saying if I was a partisan on a court and somebody I was opposed to was trying to move the election through the courts, I'd be stringing that shit out as long as I could. But they're just turning it back down and giving it the chance to go right off to the next court. So there is something else in the works. Either that, or the writers for Federal Apprentice have realized that the more this goes up the courts, the more commercials they sell. Which it does seem like that's what they're doing, is trying to sell commercials. Let's keep going and see what the news articles have to say about this from CBS News to start with. I've got one from CBS and one from The Blaze to kind of show you the way that they're reporting this differently. Headline from CBS News, Wisconsin Supreme Court denies Trump campaign's attempt to bypass lower court in election challenge, from Adam Brewster. The Wisconsin Supreme Court denied the Trump campaign's attempt to bypass lower courts in the state and go directly to the high court with its election challenge. On Thursday, it ruled against the campaign's petition for original action with a 4-3 majority, composed of the court's 3 liberal justices and Justice Brian Hagedorn, a conservative. The Trump campaign had argued that the Wisconsin Supreme Court should hear its case directly because presidential electors will soon be casting their votes on December 14th. It wants to throw out more than 220,000 absentee ballots from Dane and Milwaukee counties, Wisconsin's 2 largest Democratic counties. The campaign says those ballots were cast illegally, even though many of those voters and election officials followed instructions that had been in place for years. No, they didn't. They did not. They did Democracy in the Park 2 weekends in a row in Dane, I know for sure. I don't know what they did in Milwaukee, but they did Democracy in the Park 2 weekends in a row in Dane County, which, by Wisconsin law, was an unauthorized ballot drop. And we talked a bit about that yesterday, where it came to pass that the court said, okay, well, until we decide what to do with these ballots, until we look at all the evidence, keep them separated, and whoops, Oh my god, these ballots are suddenly mixed in with Gen Pop. We don't know which ones came from Democracy in the Park. So that's one little bit of shady shit that they did with that, but I haven't seen the documents for this because I've worked 10 hours for the last 2 days in a row. But, as Stephen Ignoramus likes to look at and says, show me the documents. The documents. Show me the documents. As Stephen Ignoramus likes to say on that, show me the documents. I'd love to see what it is that they're trying to do, what they're trying to rule on, and what they're trying to see. But, of course, with this headline and the way that they put it out, CBS says, oh, well, the Trump campaign lost again. Why do they keep doing this? And yes, in this paragraph right here, talks about it a little bit more in detail. I understand the impulse to immediately address the legal questions presented by this petition and ensure the recently completed election was conducted in accordance with the law, but challenges to election results are also governed by law, Hagedorn wrote. In a concurring opinion, he noted that the statute says these actions should be filed in the circuit court and said the law spells out detailed procedures for ensuring their orderly and swift disposition. So, Hagedorn is right, too. We do have a constitutional process. Yes, I would like to see something like this go straight to the Supreme Court, but because it is a civil case, there are procedures that the Constitution put into place. And that might suck for the election coming up because we can't just take it right in front of Amy Coney Barrett. But on the other side of that keeps, a gun appeal on a 6-3 liberal majority U.S. Supreme Court from going straight to the U.S. Supreme Court without going up through the proper channels. So for them, even having the president go through the proper channels means that everything else goes through the proper channels. We're not going to change the Constitution because the Orange Man said so. As much as I want him to win, we still need to do this the right way. All right. I want to show you guys how the Blaze covered the same thing. Wisconsin Supreme Court refuses to hear Trump campaign election lawsuit. For now. From Breck Dumas. The Wisconsin Supreme Court on Thursday declined to take up one of the lawsuits filed in the state by the Trump campaign earlier this week, determining in a 4-3 decision that the petition seeking to toss out more than 220,000 absentee ballots should be heard by a lower court. On Tuesday, President Trump, Vice President Mike Pence, and their re-election campaign sued Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers. Good. And several election officials in the state, presenting what the campaign called clear evidence of unlawfulness that says... that is... Okay, that's a typo. That's why that's confusing. It says, that is says, but I'm guessing it's supposed to say that it says, God damn it. Go away. That it says affected no less than approximately 221,000 ballots out of over the 3... Wow! Blaze, get an editor here. All right, I'm going to read this verbatim, and then I'm going to see if I can guess what it was they were trying to say. That it says affected no less than approximately 221,000 ballots out of over the 3 million ballots cast. And there were not 33 million ballots cast in this state. So I'm guessing that it was 3 million, but, when they do stuff like that, it makes it hard to just go over there. All right. Let's keep going. The Washington Post reported one conservative member of the panel, Brian Hagedorn, joined the court's 3 more liberal members in declining to take the case, writing that he had determined the court should decline the case or to take the case so the Trump campaign could promptly exercise its right to seek action in a lower court. And yeah, of course, he's going to try and get this kicked out of there as quick as they can so they can still get it filed. Oh, I don't know. Yet today, and I believe that is the Second Circuit in Wisconsin that's going to cover this one because it's Dane. First or second? I think it's the first, actually, because it's going to be happening in Dane. Courthouse News noted that the other 3 members of the court's conservative majority dissented. In reaction to the court's narrow decision, Trump campaign attorney James Trupis said in a statement, We welcome the direction of the Supreme Court to file in Dane and Milwaukee counties as we pursue making certain that only legal votes count in Wisconsin, and we will immediately do so. I'm guessing they're getting about to the bench right now and saying, what the fuck, why are we listening to this? Because they're very, very liberal judges in both of those, so they're going to try to do everything they can. I bet you they try to drag this out too. Once again, political adversary plus, hey, let's go sell a bunch of commercials on The Federal Apprentice. He added, it was clear from their writings that the court recognizes the seriousness of these issues, and we look forward to taking the next step. We fully expect to be back in front of the Supreme Court very soon. Monday, maybe? We'll see. So, yeah, they're coming out and they're saying properly. Let's see. We've got other lawsuits here. We were talking a bit about this yesterday. On Wednesday, the campaign filed another lawsuit in Wisconsin in district court against the Wisconsin Election Commission and the mayors of the state's 5 largest cities, Milwaukee, Madison, Kenosha, Green Bay, and Racine. I would love to see all those cities, too, go ahead and get some sort of election slap on the wrist so they know that people are watching here. That's one of the big things, and they say this every election in this state. Oh, look at all these long lines in Milwaukee County. It's the Republicans are shutting down various polling places. Really? Milwaukee's been Democrat run for 70 years. And your city council determines where your polling places are open and your city districts. Think about that. All right, we got to keep going, though. We got a bunch of stuff to get to and not a lot of time because I know that Steven's going to be broadcasting half an hour early. And I try my hardest not to have overlap with him because he's a good guy and he deserves all the audience that he gets. From the Daily Wire, federal court is fast-tracking Sidney Powell's request for a forensic exam of Dominion voting machines. Considering the fact that she said yesterday, or the day before because I reported on it yesterday, that she said, well, don't vote in Georgia until we get what we want out of there. I have no more faith in Sidney Powell. But let's see what it is that she has to say. Maybe she'll restore my faith. I restore my faith in humanity every Monday, so maybe I'll restore my faith in Sidney Powell too. It's doubtful. But let's see. From Tim Pierce. A federal appeals court in Georgia has approved an expedited review of pro-Trump attorney Sidney Powell's request for a forensic review of voting machines in 3 counties. Powell filed a lawsuit last week alleging that Dominion Election Systems voting machines used in the 2020 election in Georgia are insecure and allow foreign agents to meddle in the U.S. elections. U.S. District Judge Timothy Batten Sr. issued an order on Sunday restricting officials in Georgia's Cherokee, Cobb, and Gwinnett counties from resetting Dominion Election Systems voting machines because of the lawsuit. Defendants are hereby enjoined and restrained from altering, destroying, or erasing, or allowing the alteration, destruction, or erasure of any software or data on any Dominion voting machine in Cobb, Gwinnett, and Cherokee counties. Batten's order said this temporary restraining order shall remain in effect for 10 days or until further order of the court, whichever comes first. Batten did not grant Powell an immediate audit of the Dominion voting machines, however, and allowed her to appeal that decision to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. The Federal Appeals Court plans to expedite hearings on Powell's request, according to Bloomberg. Yeah, we're kind of running out of time crunch here, so if you can get this through and figure out what the hell is going on, that's going to be better for everybody. But it looks like we're going to see, and I want to see if the Kraken gets released. And the left is coming out and trying to meme and saying, whoa, we are Perseus. Okay. So that's what's happening partially in Georgia here. Let's keep going. One of the other things that's coming out of Georgia here, breaking one of the videos out of Georgia where the Trump legal team alleges shows ballot stuffing. I don't think there's any sound to this, but this is one of the CCTV videos that came along with this. Let's see what it is that we see out of this, and then we'll see what's going on with the signature verification from this.
O'clock in the morning, and we're going to roll this back and show it to you. There you go. So now they're going to start pulling these ballots out from under this table. This table, the black one, was placed there by the lady with the blonde braids at about 8:22 a.m. in the morning. So she put that table there. So the same person who's staying behind now, the same person who cleared the place out under the pretense that we're going to stop counting, is the person who put the table there at 8:22 in the morning. Yeah, I saw 4 suitcases come out from underneath the table. Yeah, upper right hand, you see the gentleman in the red. So he just pulled one out. In the morning.
So that's what we're seeing off of there. If you're over on Instagram right now, which looks like MK Ultra is over there, I had the video up on the screen showing what happened up in Georgia. But yeah, it looks like we've got some CCTV of people pulling some ballots out from underneath the table so they can run back and process them. And you know, that is sketch. That is sketch beyond sketch, yo. Looks like I've got another perspective here. I didn't know I had this one here. Let's see what that one looks like.
Table, the black one, was placed there by the lady with the blonde braids at about 8:22 a.m. in the morning. So she put that table there. So the same person who's staying behind now, the same person who cleared the place out under the pretense that we're going to stop counting, is the person who put the table there at 8:22 in the morning. Yeah, I saw 4 suitcases come out from underneath the table. Yeah, upper right hand, you see the gentleman in the red. So he just pulled one out. So what are these ballots doing there, separate from all the other ballots? And why are they only counting them whenever the place is cleared out with no witnesses? Is the question. So these machines can process about 3,000 ballots an hour. You have multiple machines there, and they're there for 2 hours. So you do the math. How many ballots went through those machines in those 2 hours when there was no one there to supervise, to be present, consistent with your statutes and rules, to supervise the tabulation? We believe that could easily be, and probably is certainly, beyond the margin of victory.
So, I mean, that's interesting to see. I'm glad we were able to have a look at that. I would love to see what comes out of the courts from that. And like I said, even if there isn't enough there to overturn the election, if we shore these up, then we can start seeing people like you and me run for office instead of all of these political elites that have been in politics since they got out of college for political science. So we will see what happens from that. And, you know, like I said, even if Trump doesn't manage to win, if we get all of this shored up, we can start seeing some of this stuff turn around. So we can start kicking some of these lifelong people out. And of course, I love the fact that the tag is down there. This claim of election fraud is disputed. All right, let's see what CBS has to say about this and the new audit that's coming up. From CBS 46, Governor Kemp calls on Georgia SOS to conduct a signature audit of ballots. From WGCL Digital Team, Governor Brian Kemp is calling on Secretary of State's office to conduct a signature audit of ballots after allegations of fraud in Georgia were presented at a Senate hearing. During an appearance on Fox News on Thursday night, Governor Kemp said, "I called early for signature audit. Obviously, the Secretary of State, per the laws of the Constitution, would have to order that. He has not done that. I think it should be done, especially after what we saw today. There needs to be transparency on that. Hopefully, in the next 24 hours, we'll see a lot more." And Kayleigh McEnany's like, finally, Brian Kemp is calling for a signature audit. Let's have a listen, actually. I threw the earphones down too quickly. Let's have a listen.
Senator Loeffler, I called early on for a signature audit. Obviously, the Secretary of State, per the laws and the Constitution, would have to order that. He has not done that. I think it should be done. I think, especially with what we saw today, it raises more questions. There needs to be transparency on that. I would again call for that, and I think in the next 24 hours, hopefully we'll see a lot more from the hearings that the legislature had today, and we'll be able to look and see what the next steps are. But Senator Loeffler, I called early on for a
I didn't know that Brian Kemp actually had that deep of a Southern accent when I was making fun of him earlier. Now I feel a little bit bad, but yeah, now he's calling for that. So we'll see what happens with that audit and see if it comes up with that, because that's going to be. I don't know if this will turn it over for President Trump or not. But with a runoff coming, on top of all of this, with the runoff coming and control of the Senate hanging in the balance, which of course is more commercials for the Federal Apprentice. Don't think that it's not. With all of this coming, let's get this shored up before January, which I'm sure is the last thing that people like Andrew Yang want. So, we'll see what happens off of this. We will keep an eye on this one. Let's keep going. I've got one more video clip here, which I think this is from the Senate hearing in Georgia. I don't know where this came from, but it was hilarious either way, and I thought you guys would enjoy it.
That's not the case.
What did you guys do? Take it and do something crazy to it?
I'm just saying the numbers are not off by 30,000 votes. So
I know what
are you
I
saying
saw.
that they're filling in?
I know what I saw, and I signed something saying that if I'm wrong, I can go to prison. Okay. Did you?
Okay,
I'm just trying to. That's not.
I think that drunken woman is my spirit animal at this point. Let's listen to that one more time, just because it was funny.
Not the
What
case.
did you guys do? Take it
What did you
and
guys do?
do
Take
something
it?
crazy to it?
I'm just saying the numbers are not off by 30,000 votes. So
I know what
are you
I
saying
saw.
that they're filling in?
I know what I saw, and I signed something saying that if I'm wrong, I can go to prison. Okay. Did you?
Boom. I signed something that said I can go to prison if I'm wrong. Did you? And isn't that Victor Saz from Gotham too? Looks like him. I don't know. I thought that was funny. Burn it down. Let's keep going. From Newsweek in Section 230 News. Tulsi Gabbard backs Trump in Section 230 battle, accuses lawmakers of kowtowing to big tech. From James Walker. Democratic Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard backed President Donald Trump in his fight to repeal Section 230 protections for tech platforms and accused some lawmakers of kowtowing to the interests of monopolies in the sector. Appearing on Fox News, the Hawaii Democrat and former presidential candidate said many lawmakers had refused to take action against Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act of 1996. The law protects tech firms from liability for the content its users post and allows tech firms to moderate content in good faith on their platforms without being open to civil liabilities. She also accused her fellow lawmakers of failing to do the right thing after a bipartisan draft of the National Defense Authorization Act released on Thursday failed to include repeal of the controversial law. Okay, I've learned a little bit more about what's going on with Section 230 right now, and I'm going to come out and say, maybe you shouldn't do this. Possibly go through and reform it, but repeal it. All you're going to do is send Twitter and Facebook and all these big companies with huge pocketbooks and huge abilities to move out of the country and take all of those jobs with them. You look at some of these other companies out there, and Styx did a great breakdown of this. I reckon if you haven't checked out Styx Hexenhammer 666 YouTube channel, I recommend going and checking that out because he's got a really good breakdown of this yesterday. And he puts out like 4 videos a day, so you're going to have to go back and look through his videos again. But if you go and check him out over there, he's got a really good breakdown of what this could mean if they repeal it. But a reform, and I mean, I've even been against an Internet Bill of Rights before, but I mean, if it's going to be a part of Section 230 and it gets reformed, I'm okay with that because, you know, this is the public platform. yes, we have other options to go through other than the big tech sites, but as the big tech vertical monopolies grow, they're going to start trying to put the BitChutes, the DLives, the Parlors, they're going to start trying to put them under. So definitely a few gifts and takes to go with this, but as of right now, I don't think repealing 230 is going to be the answer. From everything and what limited scope I know about it, and I will tell you right out, I'm ignorant for 230. I know almost nothing about it. But I don't think this is going to be the best idea at this point. But thank you, Coconut Mommy, for appearing in the news again so I can have one last look at you in this season of The Federal Apprentice. Let's keep going. From Politico. White House comms director Alyssa Farah resigns weeks before the end of the Trump administration. From Matthew Choi and Daniel Lippman. White House Communications Director Alyssa Farah quit her position Thursday, ending the tenure of a longtime staffer in President Trump's administration. Farah joined the White House in her current role in April after serving as press secretary for the Defense Department and press secretary for Vice President Mike Pence. Prior to her 3.5 years in the administration, she served in communications roles for then Representative Mark Meadows, who would go on to become White House Chief of Staff. I am deeply proud of the incredible things we're able to accomplish to make our country stronger, safer, and more secure, Farah wrote in her resignation statement obtained by Politico. The Washington Post first reported Farah's departure. In her resignation letter, Farah celebrated a number of Trump administration policy priorities, including the combating ISIS, brokering peace negotiations between the Taliban and Afghan governments, and Operation Warp Speed, the program driving the development of a COVID-19 vaccine. Farah's resignation comes in the final weeks of the Trump administration as staffers plan their post-White House moves ahead of President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration. Though Trump has refused to concede the election, Farah's public comments following Biden's victory have been largely conciliatory. After Biden announced his plans for staffing his own communications operation led entirely by women, Farah tweeted, "All accomplished and impressive women, but celebrating women's advancement should be nonpartisan," followed by a list of women who led the Trump White House press shop. So, the Washington Post article that I took this from was riddled with speculation. And I looked for some other things, and yeah, it's unfortunate that Farah is out, but for Biden to come out and say, well, I'm making history by having all these women in my comms team, when we had Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Alyssa Farah, Kayleigh McEnany. I mean, this is not a new thing. But they're going to try and make this some glass ceiling thing. And it's not that. It really isn't. It's just a normal administration. And, once again, maybe Joe Biden should be focusing less on what is on or in the pants of his staff and more on what his staff is doing and what they've done for the last 20 or 30 years in the government. So, Godspeed, Alyssa Farah. Let's keep going. From the Daily Wire. Leaders of conservative organizations call for Biden to release bank records. From Hank Berrien. A coalition of conservative leaders has written a letter to House Ways and Means Committee Chair Rep. Richard Neal, pointing out that since he had stated the need for investigating criminal wrongdoing by public officials, he should ask for former Vice President Biden's bank records. In December of 2019, Neal, who's been calling for President Trump to release his tax returns, released 8 years of tax records, saying that the move came in the spirit of transparency as the chair of the committee with jurisdiction over taxes. George Landreth, president of Frontiers of Freedom, Richard Manning, president of Americans for Limited Government, Andrew Langer, president of the Institute for Liberty, Seton Motley, president of Less Government, Horace Cooper, co-chairman, Project 21, Saul Anusis, president of 60 Plus, and Dick Patton, president of the American Business Defense Council, began their letter stating, "Your recent comments about the need to investigate criminal wrongdoing by public officials and the importance of transparency to American government have not gone unnoticed. As you know, allegations of such wrongdoing and lack of transparency have arisen over the last 2 months based on emails found on your personal computer belonging to Hunter Biden, the son of Vice President Joseph Biden, a computer whose authenticity has been established by the FBI. After delineating alleged facts by former Vice President Biden, the letter continues, "We hope that you would welcome the chance to assist Vice President Biden in laying to rest any allegations that he was using his office and official travel to influence foreign governments or entities to benefit his son's businesses. And to answer this question, was any of that income received by Vice President Biden or other family members?" Yeah, I'd like to see that too, actually. That's probably not a bad idea. Whether or not we'll see this happen, time will tell. But I wouldn't mind seeing that. I mean, I wouldn't have minded seeing Trump's tax records either. I don't know what I would have found on them, but I wouldn't have minded seeing those either. You can't compel somebody to do that without having a criminal investigation open. But hey, I mean, if you're going to walk the walk, then talk the talk. All right. Let's keep going here. From The Guardian. Your privacy. California residents have certain rights with regard to the sale of personal information through third parties. I'm not in California. I don't give a fuck, and I rarely use The Guardian anyway. Sorry for the eye cancer. China targeting Biden team. Intelligence chief warns amid fresh trade war measures. Staff and agencies is the author for this. A counterintelligence chief in the U.S. has warned that Chinese agents are already targeting the personnel of President-elect Joe Biden, as well as those close to his team, as Congress unveiled more measures targeting big Chinese companies. William Evanina, from the Office of the U.S. Director of National Intelligence, told the Aspen Institute Cyber Summit on Wednesday it was an influence campaign on steroids. So that's one area we're going to have to be very keen on making sure the new administration understands that influence. What it looks like, what it tastes like, what it feels like when you see it, he said. He spoke as the U.S. House of Representatives passed a law to kick Chinese companies off American stock exchanges unless they comply with countries' auditing rules. The measure passed by the House by unanimous voice vote after passing the Senate unanimously in May, sending it to Donald Trump, who won the White House, said was expected to sign it into law. It applies to companies from any country, but the legislation sponsors intended to target Chinese companies listed in the U.S., such as Alibaba, tech firm Pinduoduo, and oil giant PetroChina. The Trump administration added further economic pressure on China to Wednesday, banning cotton imports from a powerful Chinese quasi-military organization in Xinjiang that says it uses forced labor of detained Uyghur Muslims. So this goes right along with what we were talking about yesterday with Nike and Coca-Cola, and the fact that they're running through and getting this bill passed as quick as they can. Now, of course, China, and we keep calling him Beijing Biden because that's what he is. China has influence. We've seen it from the laptop and from the financial influence that comes from that. I would love to see the bank records due to this. Once again, need the Fourth Amendment to be cleared and the Fifth Amendment to be cleared before he can be compelled to release his bank records. But if he's got nothing to hide and he's a government official, I wouldn't mind seeing it. I can't compel you to do so, but I wouldn't mind seeing it. So, they're going to target him. And they're going to target the people in his administration too. They're going to come up and say, "Hey, you know what? I got a little bit of cash for you here. If you just kind of have your boss make sure that this doesn't get signed, okay?" So, that's what we've got going on with that. Speaking of capitalism, have you guys seen the official AOC shop? Yes, that's right. Shop.ocasio-cortez.com. Let's explore the collection. Shop.ocasio-cortez.com/collection/Green New Deal. Product categories: hats, tees, the Green New Deal hoodie. That is, you see it right there, $65. $18 for a bandana. $28 for a dad hat. $17 for a dog collar with capitalism. The only thing out there that can fuel communism. $24 for a poster. Are you out of your fucking mind? GND Organic Baby Onesie. Yes. This is a thing. You can go get your Green New Deal stuff right from shop.ocasio-cortez.com. And of course, it had backlash from it. So, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez backlashing against Stephen Punwasi. Republicans are freaking out because we don't use slave wage labor for merch that funds grassroots organizing. But what's the difference between Trump's merch and ours? Ours is made in the U.S. And for GOP who joke we should give the t-shirt for free, we actually do. Just volunteer. Well, that's not actually giving it away for free. That's giving it away in an exchange for labor, which you're going to be underpaying people for. Stephen Ponoski tweets, everyone at AOC is selling Tax the Rich sweatshirt for $58. That's way too expensive. Me, a former mass market apparel designer, made in America, union printed. Sounds about right. That's what it costs to pay everyone a decent wage along the way. Hashtag tax the rich. $60 for a crappy, non-hooded sweatshirt too, by the way. It's not hooded. All right, and let's see what the New York Post has to say about that one. AOC is selling $60 Tax the Rich sweatshirt. Other merch on her site from Ebony Bowden. Capitalism isn't so bad after all. Firebrand Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has come up with a new campaign moneymaker, Sell the Rich Expensive Sweatshirts, about, you guessed it, taxing the rich. The Democratic Socialist lawmaker's website is now selling a bunch of pricey apparel with trendy slogans. What was it Barack said yesterday? Oh, if you're gonna do something with government, then you got to use more than snappy slogans. Like abolish ICE, drink water and don't be racist, and tax the rich. The line of merchandise caught the eye of pundits on Twitter who pointed out the hypocrisy of anti-capitalism legislator coming up with their own clothing line. AOC is selling the $65 sweatshirt that says tax the rich, that only rich people can afford. Should I just say tax me? Wrote user Matt's Idea Shop on Wednesday with a photo of the tax the rich top. When you're aiming for socialism, but you hit capitalism, they added. Another pundit noted that the 31-year-old progressive icon and squad leader was also a member of the wealthy class given her six-figure congressional income. She is not 31 because she was 27 2 years ago. Only the rich can afford this idiotic sweatshirt, added Daily Wire editor Ben Shapiro. Among the swag up for grabs is a Green New Deal organic baby onesie for $25, a $28 Abolish ICE cap, and a Green New Deal dog collar for $17. Okay, I don't have a dog anymore, which is regrettable. I like having a dog. But when I was living with my ex and we had Orion, we bought him, between the two of us, I think we bought him like 20 freaking collars. That dog had more collars than I had t-shirts. But they were like $5 a crack. $17 dog collar. That's out of your mind, dude. The proceeds from the apparel don't go to the charity, but Ocasio-Cortez's political machine with a disclaimer on the website warning, purchases are campaign contributions. It appears the price of the USA-made sweatshirt has since been reduced and is now $58. And of course, what are they doing? They're going in and they're trying to bilk the money out of the rich. And they're doing things only for the rich as well. I wouldn't pay $60 for a sweatshirt. Hell, I wear them until they fall apart. I definitely wouldn't do it if it was going to a campaign. Fuck that. No. But that's what we're seeing out of this tax. And it's the same thing with the gun taxes that they're coming out with too. Well, I'm not going to grab guns. I'm just going to put a tax on them. So you're going to make it so that only the rich people can afford them. You're going to tax them out of the hands of the poor people you claim to care so much about. Party of the rich, folks. Let's keep going. From CNN. CNN exclusive. Biden says he will ask Americans to wear masks for the first 100 days he's in office. From Dan Merica. President-elect Citation needed, please. Joe Biden told CNN's Jake Tapper on Thursday that he will ask Americans to wear masks for the first 100 days after he takes office, in a sign of how Biden's approach to the virus will be dramatically different from President Trump's response. Just 100 days, man, not forever. In 100 days, we'll go out to the pool, okay? And you can rub down my hairy legs and watch them come back up out of there, and I'll teach you about roaches, man. And I think we'll see a significant reduction, Biden said, for the first time in an interview with Tapper. The wide-ranging conversation with Biden, his first joint interview with Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. I'm sorry, that was a Freudian slip. Since winning the election comes at a key time as they build their administration and outline the policy priorities that will define their first year in office. Their policy priorities that will define their first year in office will be Kamala wheeling Biden over to the cliff and shoving him over. And I don't care how many times S8 and Midget B put that meme in my Discord, which if you're not in, join below. There's a link in all the major platforms, join that below. I don't care how many times they put that meme in my Discord, it's still fucking funny. And I hope they keep doing it from now until Inauguration Day. Every day I want to see that meme somewhere in my Discord. And it comes as the coronavirus cases and deaths are artificially inflated to reach their highest levels to date, all while Trump is largely ignoring the dire moment and focusing almost exclusively on baselessly attacking the results of the election. Yeah, this is an op-ed at this point, but yeah, 100 days. Wear the mask for 100 days. Come on, man. Just wear it for 100 days, man. Come on. Let's keep going. Speaking of coronavirus, from CNBC, here's a question for you guys in the chat. Would you be willing to get a COVID vaccine in exchange for a $1,500 stimulus check? How one bold proposal would work. You don't have the money, you assholes. From Lori Konish. Millions of Americans are still hoping for a second round of stimulus checks to help them cope with the financial fallout of the COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, the U.S. government is preparing to distribute vaccinations to the American public in order to put an end to this public health crisis. Now, one proposal aims to help both efforts by giving people $1,500 stimulus checks in exchange for getting immunized. The idea comes from entrepreneur John Delaney, a former Democratic congressman for Maryland, who also ran for president in 2020. Did he? I forgot about that one. The faster we get 75% of this country vaccinated, the faster we end COVID, and the sooner everything returns to normal. Why are they so in a hurry to get so many people vaccinated for something that's probably not going to work and got fast-tracked? These people love red tape. They love it when things take forever because they get kickbacks for trying to get this shit pushed through. They get big money kickbacks from big industry, and yet they want you to take something that they fast-tracked. Something doesn't fucking smell right here, and now they want to offer you money to do it. I got this article from a Twitter post that said just that. Would you be willing to take a $1,500 stimulus in order to get the COVID vaccine? And I actually replied back and I said, well, considering the fact that I cut my stimulus check up and sent it back to the Treasury with a profanity-laced letter, I'm going to tell you that'll tell you how I feel about stimulus checks. Nothing comes out of the government without a hook attached into it. Without a hook buried into it, nothing comes out of the government without a hook. No. Fuck that. That letter was fun, too. It was fun to write. It basically boiled down to, you don't have the fucking money to cover this. If I write a bad check, you'll send a guy with a gun to send me to prison. You wrote a bad check. And I'm supposed to swear my unending fucking fealty to you guys. Fuck that. But yeah, they're in a hurry to get you vaccinated. Alright, let's keep going. Speaking of the vaccine, Ron Perlman. War never changes. Ron Perlman had to tweet out, Dear @RealDonaldTrump, thank you for the hashtag Biden vaccine. Because war never changes. And of course, the top comment really gives the sentiment of these deranged leftists that think you're a conspiracy theory if you raise your hand looking at the results after seeing the after seeing that and you ask questions, they call you a conspiracy theorist. Nona Horn tweets back, I have to say, if for some insane reason this gets named after Trump, I may hesitate to get it. Anti-vaxxer. So, thank you, Ron. Let's keep going. From CNN, California issues regional stay-at-home order to battle record COVID-19 surge. From Sarah Moon and Douglas S. Wood. Got just a couple more here, and if you guys are in the chat and you haven't chatted yet, make sure you get your name in there. Get some inane comment. And if I'm going to make the same deal that Andrew Clavin does, because I don't read the live chat enough for contemporary through this. Not only will I read everybody's name at the end of this, if your comment is sufficiently stupid, I will read it out loud. So do your worst. But make sure, it looks like I got 9 people sitting here watching here, make sure that you get your name in there so I can read it for you. Because we got to thank everybody. Millions of Californians will likely find themselves under a regional stay-at-home order once again under new restrictions announced Thursday by Emperor Gavin Newsom. The new order will take hold in regions where hospitals are feeling the squeeze on capacity to treat the incoming surge of COVID-19 patients. A strict stay-at-home order will go into effect 48 hours after hospital intensive care unit capacity drops below 15%. In one of 5 regions in the state is divided into Northern California, Bay Area, Greater Sacramento, San Joaquin Valley, and Southern California. We're at the tipping point in our fight against the virus, and we need to take decisive action now to prevent California's hospital system from being overwhelmed in the coming weeks, Newsom said, to the thunderous cheers of all of the people in Los Angeles except for Britt. This is how democracy dies, with thunderous applause. The order comes as the state experiences a record surge of new cases and hospitalizations that are projected to overwhelm hospitals by Christmas. The state added 18,591 more overinflated cases that are probably confused with the flu on Thursday, bringing the total up to 1.2 million. Hospitals are treating 2,066 COVID-19 patients, which are probably also inflated. According to data from the state health department, the highest number yet in the pandemic. None of the regions currently meet the threshold, but state officials project 4 of the regions will drop below 15% ICU capacity in early December, with the Bay Area to follow in mid to late December, Newsom said. The 5 regions include 99% of the state's 39 million residents. All hail Emperor Newsom! All hail Emperor Newsom! So that's what you can see if you happen to live in the Democratic People's Republic of California. And the offer still stands. If I've got to go get myself a fast car so I can race against the California Highway Patrol, so I can go and smuggle Emily from the Adventist Millennial, even though she doesn't do the podcast anymore, Harvey McLeod, Britt, and Clint, and Rachel too from the LP. If I've got to go down and smuggle them out of California, just let me know and we'll go find a fast car and do it. Moonshine run, but for people, to go smuggle them out of the People's Republic of California. Let's keep going. Isn't Neff down there too? We'll make it 6 because Neff is down there too, and I like Neff. Even though he makes absolutely disgusting D-Live names, I still like Neff. We'll get him out of there too. Let's keep going. From the Blaze, 11-year-old boy shoots self in the head during a live Zoom instruction. School support director notes noticeable uptick in depressed, anxious students. So we do need to, we got to take this down on a little bit of a down note, unfortunately. But it's happening. People are getting more depressed. And the dude did it right on the fucking Zoom call. I wanted to make a Tubin joke about this, but this was too serious. This is from Sarah Taylor. Authorities say a 6th grade student shot himself in the head during a Zoom distance learning conference, according to KCRA TV. A spokesperson for the San Joaquin County Sheriff's Office confirmed in a news release shared to its Facebook page. Officials reported the victim, an 11-year-old boy, died at a nearby hospital after suffering self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head while he was attending Zoom instruction. KOVR-TV reported that the child had his microphone and camera turned off when the shooting took place. The outlet noted that the child's sister, attending her own Zoom conference in another room of the house, discovered the horrific scene and alerted her neighbor and teacher. Deputies arrived on the scene in Woodbridge, California to find the child with a head injury. Neighbors said they heard the child's sister running out of the home screaming for help after the shooting. The sister came here banging on the door, one neighbor said, which prompted him to call authorities. That little boy was one of the nicest little boys you'll ever want to know. He was special, easygoing. He was the type of person who would never hurt anybody, soft-spoken, with a beautiful smile. So, yeah, we're social creatures. These kids have been locked in the house, especially in California on top of this. You're locked in the house. You can't go anywhere. You can't do anything. You can't go see your friends. I remember, when I was out of work, when I was living in Kenosha and couldn't go out and do anything either, I felt the same way. Plus, I was out of work, so, you're not contributing to anything. You're laying on the couch, watching TV, hoping the phone rings, hoping one of the jobs you just applied to gets back to you, even though the market is completely fucking saturated. And there are 7,000 other people just like you also waiting for that same phone call. It gets to you. You can't even go over to the bar and hang with your friends. I've been there. I understand. It is part of the reason that I have been so vocal against suicide and trying to get funds out. It's the reason that in April, before we started Worldwide Timeout, I wanted to have the 24-hour fundraiser to get funds to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, because this has hit me personally. And I hate to see something like this, especially for an 11-year-old. So open the country back up. We will assess our own risk at this point. And, of course, prayers to the family and Godspeed. Let's keep going. From the Daily Wire, James O'Keefe, Ben Shapiro discuss impact of secret recordings on CNN leadership. Spoiler alert, it's absolutely fucking nothing. From Tim Pierce, James O'Keefe, the president and founder of Project Veritas, suspects that the impact of his secret recordings of CNN company calls and their slow, steady release of having a traumatizing effect on CNN president Jeff Zucker. O'Keefe estimated the psychological impact of his recordings in a Wednesday interview with Ben Shapiro, editor emeritus of the Daily Wire and host of the Ben Shapiro show. Did I almost say the Ben Shapiro Jew on accident? Accident. Okay, I can't do triple parentheses with my hands. Accident. I've been doing CNN exposés for years, and this is the first time they've really reacted to it. CNN Corporate Communications has put out a couple statements, and if you actually watch the video of me live streaming, they were so taken aback, and that sort of psychological aspect too, O'Keefe said, discussing the impact of the recordings. Now, I believe that they should be transparent. I don't think that they should be ashamed of anything they're saying right on these calls. But I think that they're shaking in their boots. And the facts that we have, hundreds of hours of recordings, and we're going to release them a little bit at a time, akin to a December Advent calendar. Day by day, I think that's just psychologically traumatizing to Jeff Zucker, O'Keefe said. O'Keefe gave no specifics of what is contained in future recordings that he will release, but O'Keefe said that what is contained in the recordings is not so much surprising as it is confirming what many have already suspected about CNN, it is biased news organization. I don't know if it will shock people because the chyrons on CNN are already so shocking. I don't think people are going to go, whoa, but I do think it gives an insight. It kind of confirms suspicions about how the sausage is made, how the organization manufactures consent. To quote Noam Chomsky, how they tell people what the narrative is and what the story is. It's not journalism, in my opinion. So I think it's important work, and hopefully it draws out more whistleblowers inside these companies to come out like the person who came out to me inside CNN. O'Keefe said, I like James. I really like James a lot. But going along the same line that I'm seeing with the president right now, I do need to start seeing some results if I'm going to keep having faith in you. Now, yes, James can put out an expose with blurred faces out and have everybody on left-wing Twitter say, selectively edited, until the end of time. And yes, he'll go to court and he'll win all of his court cases, but nothing changes when O'Keefe puts a video out. Nothing changes, and that's what we need to start doing. We need to start seeing something change when we start to see stuff like this. I love Veritas. I love what they're doing. Don't get me wrong, and don't try to take this as me bagging on O'Keefe. But we do really need to start seeing something come out of this shit. So, we'll see what happens off of that. Probably nothing. All right, 3 more. Then we'll read the live chat and get the hell out of here. From CTV News. City staff recommends that Toronto move ahead with a tax on vacant homes, from Chris Fox. Staff are recommending that the city move ahead with implementing a tax on vacant homes, a move that Mayor John Tory says could help return thousands of units to the marketplace. A staff report that will be considered by Tory's executive committee next week recommends that the city establish a dedicated team to lead the implementation of a tax with the goal of beginning to collect in 2022. And of course, the Housing is the Right people on Twitter took this and fucking ran with it. Well, if you can afford to have multiple homes and have one vacant, then you can afford to pay some extra taxes. This is not a tax. This is a fine. This is a governing body coercing property owners fiscally to modify their behavior. Without a statute, of course. If they tried to pull this shit in the U.S., if it made it to the Supreme Court, it would be gone. But I think the First Circuit Court that heard this would say, yeah, no, this is a crime without due process. We can't tell you what to do on your own property. And I don't know Canada law, so I can't opine as to whether or not this is actually legal by Canadian Constitution, but it's not legal by ours. The government should not tell you what you can do with the property that you paid for and that you are still paying fucking taxes on already. But furthermore, this is a fine. All right. A little bit of sad news here before the end of this. Economist, GMU professor Walter E. Williams dies at 84 from Abigail Constantino. Economist Walter E. Williams, a professor at George Mason University in Virginia, has died. He was 84. Williams died Wednesday, a day after teaching his last class at the Fairfax University, where he was the John M. Olin Distinguished Professor of Economics since 1980. From 1995 to 2001, he was also the department chair. He was the author of over 150 publications that have appeared in several academic journals, the writer of more than 10 books, among them The State Against Blacks, that was later made into a PBS documentary called Good Intentions, and has appeared in several radio and television shows, including Nightline, Face the Nation, and Wall Street Week. He wrote a nationally syndicated column that appeared in some 140 newspapers and websites. His last column, Black Education Tragedy is New, was published on Tuesday. He was, for 40 years, one of the GMU's greatest assets and champions. GMU Economics Department past Chair Donald J. Boudreaux and current Chairman Daniel Hauser said in a tribute. Williams was born in Philadelphia and grew up poor, working at one time as a cab driver, Boudreaux wrote in the Wall Street Journal commentary. So I don't know much about Walter Williams. I know a lot of people were fairly saddened by the fact that he passed away, and even some people over on the Liberty side. So I'm guessing he probably had some sort of liberty-minded economic views. I will admit I've not read Walter E. Williams, so I don't know. And I could be completely 180 degrees wrong on that. It's completely possible, but he's another one. He's like Ben Carson. He was born into some of the poorest areas, and he made a name for himself. He worked hard, and he got through. So, good on him for getting up there. Good on him for his life. Godspeed. And the next. All right, and we got one more here And that'll be on that bitch Carol Baskins from TMZ. Carol Baskins, big cat rescue. Tiger attacks staffer. Arm nearly torn off. One of the big cats at Carol Baskin's Big Cat Animal Rescue in Tampa took a big bite into a staffer's arm, and it sounds like she's lucky to be alive. Well, yeah, I mean, the tiger's mouth is big enough that he can hit an artery, so... Hillsborough Fire Rescue says it received an emergency call around 8:30 a.m. Thursday at Baskin's Tiger Sanctuary for an individual who suffered a serious bite to the hand, as well as an arm injury. Carol and Howard Baskin tell TMZ, one of their longtime volunteers, a woman named Candy Kauser stuck her hand into the enclosure of a Kimba, the tiger, to open the door for feeding time, and Kimba bit into her hand and started thrashing. That probably sucks. We were told Candy's arm was nearly torn off at the shoulder, the Baskins say, when other staffers ran to the scene, and Kimba let go of Candy's arm. 3 employees applied a tourniquet and pressure to the wounds until paramedics arrived about 15 minutes later. The medics continued treatment on the scene, attempting to stabilize Candy, and then transported her to the hospital. Despite the incredibly violent attack, we're told Candy is expected to survive. That bitch Carol Baskins. So, I've never seen Tiger King. I know nothing about this sanctuary. I know a lot of you guys had seen it, but I know nothing about this. But, you know, the woman's going to survive, so that's all good, and there's probably not going to be any sort of investigation because the Netflix money is going to pay off the investigators. All right, that's going to be it here for the day as far as we go with news. You guys have been busy over here on the live chat here, so I'm going to read the names of everybody throughout the week here to get your last minute messages in here, and then we'll go through the live chat and thank everybody for today. So, on Monday was a busy day, which every time we have Stephen Ignoramus on, we've got a busy day afterwards here. We've got Star Slice, Ron Helton, Spartan, Silent Caster, Might Be Wrong, Alan Lewis Jewin, who thinks that I don't sleep, by the way, Flan Corp, our resident progressive, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, Stephen Ignoramus, and Sully Blue popped in for a little bit over on Monday. On Tuesday, we had Ron Helton. We also had Alan Lewis Jewin. Might Be Wrong was in here. Mega for the win. Miami, 1984, which for whatever reason on the restream screen it still shows up as Miami. I know it's Chilaga now, but that's who came in here and hung out on Tuesday. On Wednesday, a little bit of a slow day. We only had Ron Helton. Blind Fear was in here for a bit, and Alan Lewis Jewin. On Thursday, we had Ron, Flan Corp, our resident progressive, Chilaga 1984, and Blind Fear. For today, we've got Ron Helton with the sticker party. We've got Sapatin Ho Humilde. Brasil oprime todos vocês. I don't read Portuguese. It's Brazil presses something with voices. I know that because it's close enough to Spanish. I can tell that. But Mano políticos todos fijos da put for. Okay, I know about half of this one here. Sorry, I don't read Portuguese. And I'm only a little bit understanding of Spanish. I'm way out of practice. I used to be better, but I don't speak the language anymore. I never talk to anybody who speaks Spanish anymore. So I never get to practice anymore. Looks like we've got Quest Fanning in here. Ron Helton says crypto, as it stands right now, is worthless. If you don't have a widely circulated currency, then it's not a viable means of exchange. Chilaga, 1984. Did Jed make up Federal Apprentice? Because it's pretty genius. I've been saying that for a couple years now, Federal Apprentice. Probably about the beginning of the second year of the Trump presidency. I'm like, wow, this is like a reality show. It's like the Federal Apprentice. Ron says, worried about changing the Constitution? How about all the laws that have amended the right to bear arms without the required amendment process? Yeah, there's that. Let's not forget the shady way they jammed the IRS and Federal Reserve onto the American public without debate. Yeah, that's true too. MK Ultra Bear is here, and he was over on the Instagram as well, so thanks for checking that out over there. Ron says this election was stolen. The media is gaslighting the public into thinking that it was not. and the media is in on the plot. MK Ultra Bear says J. Edgar for president. Well, 2,000 YouTube subscribers and I'll run. 2,000 YouTube subscribers by 2022 and I will run. That's my deal for you. And I'm going to use the platform that's the hardest to grow on because they're suppressing voices that aren't their little pets. So 2,000 over on YouTube and I'll do it. I'm actually going to do a video, I think maybe this weekend, putting out one of my policy prescriptions if I do run, and it goes on the student loan crisis. Ron says that is the thing. There are a lot of witnesses, poll workers, poll watchers, mail carriers, etc., who signed affidavits of the fraud that they witnessed. But there's no evidence. Look, I have affidavit. Look, I've got a video. Oh, no evidence. That's all they're going to fucking do. Ignoring those affidavits would be criminal at this point. It's like the FBI is ignoring the reports of its field agents before the attack on 9/11. Had they listened to those reports, they could have stopped the terrorists. Yeah, but they're going to get the affidavits in front of them and they're going to say, I watched this video. Here's this affidavit that says that I can put this guy in prison if he's wrong, that says that he saw this. I have no evidence. Blind Fear says, is he still vice president, Biden? He will carry the title vice president for his entire life. Shorthand for former vice president, but yes, he will carry the vice president title for his whole life. Uyghurs! Seawall will ballot my sign. Save the Uyghurs. $5 for a sticker. Get nothing done. Thanks, Blind Fear, for coming and hanging. Thanks, Seawall, for coming and hanging as well. Chilaga points out something important with that one. Seems like to me if you're in the market for a onesie, you're not on board with the Green New Deal. Selfish bastards. Yeah, because, of course, one of the big things with the Green New Deal was the fact that it's a lot of depopulation talk. Seawall says I could embroider morale patches for the same or less. I'll buy one of your patches, Seawall. $30 is the most I want to pay for one. I think my Ford one was it was a gift, so I have no idea, but I think that was a $40 sweatshirt. The F-150 one I usually wear, which is getting a little chilly in here. I probably should wear that again. The red cancel circle. Chilaga says they're ramping up her age so she can run, and this promo worked because we're talking about her. Yes, go ahead. Go over there. Check out our promoted site. AlexandriaOcasio-Cortez.com. Go and pick up some of the swag, okay? And, put in the code JEdgar. Anybody who votes for that vacuous morons needs to be committed to an insane asylum. Ask. What am I asking you, Blind Fear? Ron says Biden can ask all he wants of the remnants of the U.S. to wear masks. Oh, that was the mask thing. Adios, commies. 100 equals forever. People are already mask compliant, so it doesn't fucking work. Let's see. Your mom. Blind Fear says I have a $1,500 shotgun to give you. Yeah, that's probably on the vaccine. What's the hook? I don't know, but nothing comes out of the government with a hook and without a hook buried into it. They don't give away money. Because they don't make anything. Ron will take the virus again before he takes that garbage. Blind Fear says, it's natural for me to sound stupid. Please read this stupid comment. MK says, is Biden wearing a boot or a house arrest bracelet? I'm glad they're calling it you guys rock. I'm glad they're calling it the Biden vaccine because it'll be deadly. Did somebody give me a donation? I gotta get it checking on DLive, I guess. Maybe we'll do the Stephen Ignoramus echo thing. Because I don't know if I've got this muted or not. Well, I've got my earphones in. I guess I'll know pretty quick, won't I? But it sounds like I'm getting donations here. Let's see. I don't know. It doesn't go all the way back. I can look at the earnings, I guess. Oh, I did get donations. Good goodness. DLI 431-74625 gave a Ninja Guinea, you fucking rock. MK threw a lemon in. And then the last one was Stephen Ignoramus over on Monday. Oh, you guys rock. Thank you guys. And whoever the Ninja Guinea was, claim that because I want to thank you for that one. All right, let's see. Chilaga says, getting Jadger one step closer to becoming the next Walter Cronkite. I don't exactly know who Walter Cronkite is, so I would have to research that one and go and find out. MK knows I really mean it. I'll never join a conglomerate. No, I will not. You are correct. Chilaga says, I love me some Neff. Joe Biden. F for Neff. Where is Neff, by the way? I haven't seen Neff for a little while. And F's for the kid, I'm sorry. Chilaga says, I'm a social creature and a living man. Ha, for real, though. Elephant says, I gave you a fast car. I'd go smuggle. That must have been the Ninja Guinea. A fast car. Thank you, Elephant Man. Thank you for that. Yeah, like I said right at the beginning of the lockdowns, when they locked down California, that if I needed to go out and buy, and I have one picked, it will be a Lincoln Mark 8. Because they came out of the factory with 300 horse and an independent rear suspension. If I have to go smuggle people out of California in a great big Lincoln, I will do it. All right, yeah. Hard J. Yeah, I think that was a Freudian slip. The Ben Shapiro shoe. O'Keefe needs a family. Yes, he does. Everybody who's not a raging leftist needs a family because we need to outnumber them in the next generation. So if you don't have kids and you're remotely right-wing, go start popping those babies out. MK must have done a deep dive on O'Keefe. No family, no follow. The wife still floods our house with that hat. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Ron says, without government, who would steal you for not renting your property out? Government is illegitimate. The main function it has chosen now is to redistribute resources from those who worked for it. I would not be surprised if NYC already does that. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Ron, are you CIA? Thank you, MK Ultra Bayer. Sounds like something a plant would say. Ron's FBI. You. Ron says the FBI is almost as bad as the CIA. They're the domestic terrorist arm of the U.S. mafia government. Chilaga says, agree. Blind Fear says, your show has grown on me. Elephant Man donated a Ninja Guinea as the confirmation for that. And we are done. So, we will be back here on Monday for more Contemporary and the Red Net Show. I'm going to try and do a solo video this weekend. But I've also got to work for the... I've got to work through and do the itinerary for the Red Net Show, so go and check that out. I'm going to get that done. I'm going to try and do that because I want to talk a bit about the student loan crisis and my idea to how to fix it. So we'll talk a bit about that. Hopefully, we'll get that out Saturday or Sunday so you guys can go and have a look at that. I'd love to see that. Thank you guys for coming and hanging out with us for the show here. We'll be back here. Oh, we've got a bot right in the end. Want to become famous? Buy followers, primes, and viewers. I want followers, primes, and viewers. Should I click on the link? Should I click on the link? Yeah, I'm not going to click on the link. BigFollows.com. Thank you, guys. We will be back here again, though. Looking forward to reading more of your chats, hanging out with you guys some more. I will be heading over to Steven's chat while I make breakfast here, so hope to see some of you guys there. And we'll be back here again. And by the way, we will be popping the chest on Monday too, by the way. So join us for the Red Net Show on Monday. That's our regular Pop the Chest time. So that is at 5:30 Central Time, Monday nights, with our wonderful co-host. Thanks again. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you next time. Until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary.